While England swings, the immortal bloodsucker finds jaded psychedelic-era kids are ideal victims. Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing again face off in a Hammer Studios Fright Fest. It's Dracula AD 1972. Welcome, class, to Ghoul School. Unfortunately, Professor Gastrot was burned alive by an angry mob over the weekend. So, please give a warm welcome to your substitutes.
Hello and welcome to whatever this podcast is called. I am one of your three hosts, Brian Spooky Stork.
I am Nolan Vinoy, junior podcaster at large.
And I'm your local creature feature, Caroline Knight.
Wonderful. So this is a podcast where we're going to watch some real bad or weird or obscure old spooky movies, vaguely spooky ghost horror haunted movies, and talk about them.
They are at least one of those things, and they are not necessarily in that order.
No, they're absolutely, the only order they can't be in is whatever order I just said.
Absolutely.
And we don't have a title for this podcast yet, and I think that's the first thing that we should kind of iron down.
I have come up with a list.
Okay, let's definitely hear that list right now.
It's an intense list. Are you?
Okay.
Are you
maybe we should sprinkle.
This?
Maybe we should do a kind of circle
Sprinkle
around Robin
some,
situation.
Yeah, all right.
Until so you start.
First contender, anything ghost.
Anything ghost.
Well, see, you've ruined the bit because you've got it in one.
But it's like anything
All
goes,
right,
but it's ghost.
Pros and cons of anything ghost.
Okay, first obvious pro is that it's the best name that we're going to come up with. Obvious con, it's a play on a term that I don't think anyone has really fully said on their own since 1957.
Anything goes.
Anything
really?
goes?
Are people going around being like anything goes?
I don't know. We're from the South.
Not
so.
frequently, but I would say that it's a thing that people are aware of that are words that go together sometimes.
That was wordist.
That's true. I'm sorry. That's my own East Coast word bias shining through, and I apologize. We don't want to get political on this podcast.
Well, and also they have a list of it. What is that? Like 17 names?
Yeah.
15. So
15
it is quite a few.
It's quite a few names. I have one.
Okay.
The Ghost Gallery.
Okay, so now that's a pun on a film that no one has seen.
Yeah.
I think there's 4 people in the world that have seen it.
There's 5. It's the people who watched it when we watched it and the person who made the movie.
Right. The one person
None of
that did every job on the set.
Yeah.
None of the actors on the film remember that they were in it or knew that they were in it at the time.
Do you
I
think
don't
if
even know
you
if they
were
were
in
actors.
Ghost Galleon, you would remember what Ghost Galleon was about?
I
Ghost
think
Galleon.
that would be the defining experience of my life and career.
That's valid.
Is being on Ghost Galleon.
So the Ghost Gallery is too niche, I think.
Yeah,
it
it's a
too
little
niche?
bit niche. Let me hit you with this one. How about Big Scary Podcast?
So, I hate it. First of all, I hate it. Second of all, it's not good.
And, okay, and let me... Can I...
The movies that we watch are neither big nor scary.
Can I hit you with a third thing that I've just now realized?
Yes.
Is that the acronym Big Scary Podcast, BSP, is also Broadcast Standards and Practices. So I think if we were to limit it to an acronym, it might not be good.
Yeah,
It might get
not
drowned out
your
a
best
little bit.
work, Brian. I would
Okay.
take that one back to the drawing board.
But there is Brian Stork's podcast.
It's true. Okay, so see, you've discovered my secret backdoor
You were secretly
naming.
trying to just brand this as your podcast and your podcast alone.
Well, now that I've been discovered, let's move on to Caroline's next name idea.
This one's more of a, if our podcast was also a coming-of-age rom-com, and it's Frankly Stein.
I don't like
one.
it.
Let's move on.
Can you give me another?
I can. Spirited discussions.
Okay.
I feel like we are getting into fortune teller territory. Like
Yeah.
we're in a big wooden trailer. and
Yeah,
we're
I mean,
all
we
it's
are-
definitely
headgear.
Halloween spook and not general spook.
Right.
We
We
are
need
recording.
general spook.
We are recording this podcast in a little wooden like box inside
Box.
of a wooded area.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
the
We're
little
in
kids.
like a
We all have the
turnover crate.
headgear.
Yeah, little kids come and they're like on a hiking thing or whatever, camping, and they find our little wooden box, and we come out of it and we're like, ooh. Would you like to hear
Can I
about?
tell you a tale?
Would you like to hear about 1956's Ghost Galleon?
Absolutely not. Please never tell me about that.
That is
Also, I
what
think
they
it was
say.
1959. Thank you very much.
I think
Did I
it was
really get
in
that
the
close?
70s, y'all.
Yeah. No.
It was definitely. I mean, it was.
All right, we can check.
Because people are gonna fact check us on
Let
that.
me hit you with this one.
Okay.
The First Ones to Die podcast.
I like that
Because I
a
think
lot.
that we would collectively be the first ones to die in a horror movie.
I
Probably.
agree.
Or the last. Well, the next to last, because we have big nerd energy.
That's true.
We're either each one of us is either the third or the last.
Brian's too sexy to not kill first.
That's true. I'm the one who's
true.
I'm the one who's having sex at the ghost house.
At the ghost.
And the ghost gets pissed off and kills
It's true, which happens in every movie, not just Monster. It happens
Ghost
in every
sex.
movie. Okay, can I hit you with my kind of last idea here?
Yeah.
And Caroline and I were talking about this a little bit earlier.
Were we?
Yeah, well, and they said that some of their ideas were a little bit half-baked, and this is my idea, which is less like half-baked and more like you had the thought that maybe you'd like to go and buy some cookie dough at some point. And the idea is I found a Halloween name generator,
Very good.
and I'd kind of like to just take a look, because I read the description. It says, "Are you a creature of the night?"
Yeah.
Do you look hot as hell in black?
Oh,
Of course.
yeah.
100%.
Does hanging around in a graveyard on Halloween sound like the best time?
Yeah, sounds
2
a
out of
little
3.
cold.
2 out of 3 is pretty good. If so, then it's time to embrace your inner goth and create a new identity
Wait, did you write this? What is this?
with
This
our
is
Halloween name
online.
generator.
Oh,
This is online.
I was wondering if you came up with this intro
No.
for a hypothetical title.
This Halloween name generator is a far better writer than I could ever hope to be. But
That's-
we do have a first little stumbling block hurdle here, which is we have to choose the gender of our podcast.
So let's have a conversation about podcast genitals.
So you want to talk about podcast
When your
genitals.
podcast is born, it's either got an XLR port or an XLR
got the-
cable.
yeah.
Right.
Let's just grab. I think we all have strong boy energy here.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Let's
yeah.
grasp at some boy names, and if they suck, we'll head to the ladies'
Okay,
zone.
so we are establishing that this podcast is a male. So I'm generating that.
That's a really problematic
Hot
start for a podcast.
This podcast
This
is
podcast is for boys.
Don't you
Okay.
even think about it.
So I've hit generate, and I'm just gonna kind of run through a couple of
dear.
these. We can just YN, yes or no them as they go by.
Okay.
Um,
Get it out, bud.
I'm sorry. The first one's really good.
Get it out. I'm ready.
Edgar Diablo.
Edgar Diablo.
Edgar Diablo.
Okay.
Wait, okay. So this is not a Halloween themed name for something. This is just a name that is kind of spooky for a person.
It's the
We are the Edgar Diablos.
No, this podcast. No, not even. This podcast himself
Is
is Edgar Diablo. You are listening to the collective voice of Edgar Diablo, the man.
I am seeing while Edgar Diablo is the greatest name I've ever heard in my life.
Edgar Diablo is
I
but
am-
3 voices.
I am noticing a slight problem, which is much as my last idea's acronym was Broadcast Standards and Practices, this one's is Erectile Dysfunction. So,
You've been listening to another episode of ED. Here we go.
okay.
It's either eating disorder or erectile dysfunction, man. They're both
They're both
bad.
really bad.
We can't spend this much time on all of them, so I'm just gonna run through them.
We'll just
We've
give
got
you a yes or no.
Lord Fang.
Yes.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Igor Nightshade.
No.
Okay.
Definitely
See,
not. He really likes wearing capes.
I strongly disagree, but we'll keep going. Ichabod Velvet.
Oh yeah, that's
He
sexy.
is a sexy
That
man.
is.
Can I just say that one feels the most like I hear that and I go, yeah, that's the name of me, of me 1/3 of the podcast.
He's skinny, like really skinny, but not malnourished.
Guys, I don't
Yeah.
think we can name our podcast a man.
We can't name him Ichabod Velvet.
Velvet? You saying you don't want to name your podcast Ichabod Velvet?
Tell me you
I'm
wouldn't
just
buy.
saying that the SEO for Ichabod Velvet is probably a nightmare.
That's IV also.
Tell me you wouldn't buy merch
Would
that
you
said
not
Ichabod
put-
Velvet on it.
Oh, that's a good band name, I
Yeah.
will say. But I'm not sure that the podcast, like, that doesn't tell you anything about what we do.
Okay, these do
Ichabod.
start.
We don't. To Ichabod is not a verb.
It's a horror name.
You did. I hate to turn on you in the middle of a bit that I created, but you did. They did go. This doesn't. None of this seems podcast-esque, and then you did say just the name Ichabod again, which is
Yes.
still just a person's name.
Ichabod.
It
Okay,
is not a verb.
I have to get through. Okay, so this one's a little lazy. I feel this one you start to kind of see what the algorithm is. Vlad Frankenrankin.
I love it. I really love it. It like covers all of the bases.
Now, what if we drop the Vlad and we're just the Frankenrankin podcast?
The Franken Rankin podcast. What's the Rankin part?
It's really funny. I don't know why that got me so good.
It's because
but
you
it
really don't
definitely
expect it to
did.
go on as long as
No, you don't. I thought you were done at Franken, and then you kept going.
The fact that an AI put together Frankenrankin,
Somewhere a computer went, yes, Vlad Franken Rankin.
that's what the humans want. Frankenrankin.
But he was right.
He was right. I'm over here like, I kind of like it.
Okay,
Vlad Franken Rankin.
guys, how do you feel about Senior Doom?
Absolutely not.
Oh, I'm in.
Next.
Interesting.
Next.
A split. Okay. So that's. I just want to say one more time because it's the last time I'll ever say it on this podcast or in life.
Senior Doom.
That's a no on Senior Doom. Senior Doom. Okay. I feel like we're leaving gold on the table, but moving on to the next one. Casanova Demon Breath.
That sounds like a guy swipe right on Tinder.
Yeah.
Casanova Demon Breath.
Now, this
That
one-
is like a spooky brand of condoms.
This one does tell a story because he's clearly great with the ladies.
But he
men, the
does have
ghouls.
demon breath.
But he does have demon breath, which means that he must be so good.
I'm
Yeah.
scared we're mining a territory where none of these are going to make sense for a podcast.
Oh, not a
None
single
of
one
them
of
do,
these.
so please continue.
Ichabod. Okay. Next up, we've got.
The Ichabod cast! The Ichabod!
Oh shit!
That's not funny to anyone but
Holy
us.
shit! That's another in joke inside an in joke.
Oh my god, that's so stupid.
I
I hate
love it,
you.
though.
Ichabod Crane.
I'm
Yeah, yeah.
going to kill you.
The Ichabod podcast. That is fucking glorious. That's going on the list of possible
No.
names.
Absolutely.
Okay, next up we've got Hans McPutrid,
This man really stinks.
which seems like an insult. It seems like it's really insulting to our podcast to name it that
Name it
at the
putrid,
beginning
yeah.
of it. And then the last one here, which is for some reason the least extreme, is Adrian Moonshadow.
That just sounds like
He is a loser. I just gotta say
Yeah,
it.
that
that guy
sounds like
sucks.
a name that like one of my weirdo high school friends would have come up for themselves,
Yeah.
and they'd be like, "No, you have to call me Adrian
It's
Moonshadow." And I was like,
definitely-
okay, Becky.
It
it's-
sounds like a politician's like secret Twitter account.
Yeah,
Ooh,
it's a Wattpad love interest for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think
Can I give you my names that I actually put effort into,
Yeah.
Brian?
what I didn't put effort into this.
You hit a button,
I did, but it was a good button.
and it gave
was a
you
good button.
human names.
He had to have the idea though. The
no,
idea counts for
go
something.
go ahead. Go ahead. Read your
All right,
actual names.
all right. Fright School.
Okay,
Ooh, I really
Flight
like
I
School.
like that.
I really
But
like
it's
that.
Fright School.
That's cool.
And then my last two favorites. One of them, if we were a bunch of bartenders, it would be Swingin' Booze.
Okay, so if we were
Here's the thing though, Caroline. We aren't bartenders.
But they don't know that.
We could be bartenders and say that welcome to Swingin' Booze. It's a podcast where we drink some and we swing some booze.
You know what's in your cup in front of you?
Ice water.
Imagine we went to get a job like bartending and we become the best bartenders in the whole place. We're doing Tom Cruise, swinging, throwing things in the air, making a huge mess.
Cocktail.
We're not doing. We're doing the Tom Cruise thing in that movie with the bar.
Cocktail.
That one, and then eventually, like our boss, Dr. Barman, the Mr. Barman,
Vlad
Frankenranken, he comes to us and he says, "Well, I mean, you have really just turned this whole bar around. You taught all those kids how to read. Like, you've really done an incredible job here at the bar."
No,
and,
all those kids
and,
yeah, all
and
those
then he's
kids
like,
in the
"So
bar.
what inspired you to go into bartending?" And then the three of us have to go, "We wanted to do a mediocre pun for our podcast."
Yeah.
We changed the world over 6 years of bartending.
Yeah. We become the bar president.
Right.
And okay, what's next?
All right, let's move on.
Okay, the last one is the camp.
Which I like that.
Okay, here's the thing. I do like that name, but it is also the
You
name.
have to be a little smart.
True, but it is also the name of an animated series produced by Rooster Teeth LLC Productions.
Is it really?
It is. I watched a little bit of it. It's pretty good.
Alternate title, The Vamp Camp.
Oh, now that's
Now
something.
you are cooking with gas.
I like that
But
for
that
a lot
would
of. Yeah. sorry.
restrict us to vampire movies.
Yeah.
Or to. I mean, we do. This entire intro is basically vamping.
You know, I have another idea.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's called the Ghost Gallery.
I fucking hate you.
Now coming back around on that, I am enjoying.
We
it.
might need to re-examine it after we've seen our options.
The absolute specificity of it all.
Yeah.
So I've kind of realized now that we've come to the end of listing the names that I have not internalized a single one of them, and I am not prepared to choose which one I like the best.
So how about we leave it to be a mystery, that we've discussed them here, and it'll be like a little Easter egg that the audience will just know which one we picked, because it'll be the one that says it in the intro.
And
Isn't that kind of a spoiler, though?
Yeah, it's true. It's a dramatic irony situation where they know where we'll reach, but we don't know
okay.
yet.
They know, but the destination, but not the journey.
Do we need to have this conversation again and restructure it so we're like working in the right direction to make the dramatic irony work?
That
No.
sounds fake.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. This is a real podcast.
This is a real podcast for real boys.
Well, here's a thought.
But boys only.
Boys only on my podcast. My podcast has a dick, and it is a man.
And it's blue.
This is the moment where the audience goes, they finally said the title. The Boys Only podcast.
Stand
Oh
up
my
with applause.
god, the boys only podcast.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with the spooky stuff.
Nothing at all.
It's only
The
for boys.
booze
Fuck.
only.
That is not only fucking stupid, but also like weirdly combative.
It's very combative.
It's like combative to people that have not threatened us in any way,
Yeah,
shape, or
our
form.
podcast is a boy. It only wants to know boys.
And if you have anything else, fuck out of here.
Also, just real quick, and we can close out here, and then watch the movie, and then come back and discuss it. Right? That's what
Yes.
the
Well, we got
process
to
is.
talk about our expectations.
Okay,
of
right.
the
Okay,
movie.
so
Yeah.
So actually, all right. Let's talk about expectations first, and then I did look up what the female equivalents of the names are, and I wanted to read one of them.
Oh, yeah,
But we'll
I'd
do that
like
at
to
the
hear
end.
them, actually.
Okay, so Dracula AD 1972.
It's a Hammer production,
Yeah, it's
so that means it has certain qualities and aesthetics that one would not expect from your average movie.
what I really kind of latch onto here, and I think we all really did as soon as we saw the log line, was that England is certainly swinging.
Right, and that is just the vaguest.
England is in perpetual motion at
Yeah.
this moment, and
Everyone-
we're not really sure why.
Nobody-
Everyone in London is vomiting,
Yeah.
and we don't know why. Well, we know why. They don't know why.
Yeah,
Well, do we know why England is swinging? We just know that it is swinging.
It's the 70s, man.
yeah. Like nobody can stand upright on this funky train.
Yeah.
Hell no.
In the 70s, nobody had knees. They just had noodles that
That's
just
vertigo
wobbled
town.
back and forth.
That's true. That's true. And it does, just judging from the poster, appear to be a film where three identical blonde women fight it out for one car. There's a goblet And Dracula's really concerned about the whole thing and was not prepared for any of this to be happening.
So Dracula's just like a concerned dad, and his 3 young daughters are fighting over the car.
Dracula's 3 young daughters fight over his car.
He's like, honey, you guys have to share the car. And they're like, no, Dad. And he's like, honey.
I'm gonna need your best Christopher Lee impression.
Oh,
Wait, would you like me to do my best Christopher Lee's Dracula impression?
Yeah.
Okay, can I have a second of silence?
yeah.
He doesn't fucking talk.
You're right. He doesn't say anything.
He really doesn't. Wait a second.
Yeah.
Does he say a single word in this movie?
So I don't believe he does.
Oh my God.
We're gonna
we
jump
haven't
into
seen
it.
This movie. What are you talking about?
We're gonna jump into.
It's a stupid lineup. Keep.
Okay, to be fair, we've watched this in a way, in a very
But not
drunk
really.
way.
We did not pay attention.
Didn't
Yeah.
pay attention. There was a little bit of inebriation.
There's
I
a
was
good chance.
sober, but I didn't feel sober because the movie was bad.
There's a good chance we didn't make it all the way through, so we're gonna watch it for real now.
It's like, you know how in old colonies in America, they were like, ah, yeah, the bread mold, like, even if it was just in the air and it made people go fucking crazy. That's kind of how I felt about watching this movie for the first time.
Yeah.
Bread mold.
I was not intoxicated, but I feel like it was putting spores into the air that we're intoxicated.
bread
I guess we should. You know what could be interesting is just real quick going through our drunken remembrances of what this film may have been, and then stacking it up
Yeah,
against
and
the real
seeing,
feeling
like,
of the
what
film.
actually happened.
Because
Yeah.
I'll swear to God, you guys, I really strongly remember Dracula dying in a car accident right at the beginning of this movie.
Yes, he does, he does.
It's a facsimile. I remember hot people around a table and it's like disco and someone's dancing.
Yeah.
And then there's like one guy and I'm like, why are they hanging out with that guy? And he's got plans.
All right.
I remember a
Brian,
lot of dancing.
Give us 3 sentences of your synopsis of what happens in this movie.
Okay.
Of what you think happens in this movie.
Okay. London is just it's just going all around, swinging back and forth, can't stop.
Just fucking ripping it.
It's moving so fast, Dracula is in his car, he drives into a tree and dies. That's the first 2 sentences.
Okay.
Sentence 3, then all the kids are dancing a lot the whole time. And Peter Cushing's there, and you know what? You don't think that he can jam, but he really can, and it's great.
Yeah.
He can groove. I remember him jumping over a fence, maybe.
Yeah, he does jump
So
over a fence.
that's kind
Does
of
he jump over a fence?
He does
Yeah.
jump over a fence.
So
and
that's
we
my
thought his ankles
recollection.
were gonna break.
that's my
He's
recollection
a
of this
very
film.
thin man.
I really thought I do pretty strongly remember he jumps the fence, and I had the distinct thought that just due to physics and the way that like bodies work in the world today, that he would just turn to dust.
He would just
Old
crumple.
Ghostface Peter
Yeah.
Cushing.
All right,
does-
give me your 3 sentences of what
Okay,
you
my
thought this
3
movie
sentences.
was.
There's a band
Yeah.
that's playing music and a guy and he's got the ruffle collar thing and he
Yeah.
says, I'm gonna bring that guy back because he died.
Huh?
And
Dracula?
You call him that guy?
That guy?
that guy and,
That asshole.
he I think he does, and then Dracula's like, that girl's hot.
That's that.
Yeah. That's the movie.
Is that it?
No, you did it in 2 sentences.
Yeah.
I think that
pretty
was
good.
like 4
One-
segments of a
Yeah,
sentence.
But it was also
It's
4
close
segments of one compound sentence, run-on sentence, so
Close
it's pretty
enough.
good. Caroline, do you remember it too well to do this, or
The thing is that while I was not intoxicated, I do have severe ADHD, so I
Right.
don't remember jack shit.
okay?
about
So yeah,
this
so
movie.
give us a quick synopsis.
So I remember Dracula fucking dies in a car accident. but it's like it's not like a modern car accident. This isn't part of my sentences. I get to fucking
Okay.
talk about this.
Yeah.
It's not a modern car accident. It's like a fucking horse and chariot.
Yeah.
Like
Horse and
That's
chariot.
odd,
horse and
'cause I have a
carriage.
distinct memory of it being a Volkswagen Beetle.
No.
It's the car they're fighting over.
It's like
Our dad died in this car, and we gotta get
it's
it back.
him and Peter Cushing fucking wrestling on top of a horse-drawn carriage. And then, like, fucking Peter Cushing gets stuck in the wheel or some shit. And
Yeah.
then, like, pierces Dracula with the wheel stake. It's fucking crazy.
But he got stuck in the wheel?
Yeah, he, like, fell down or some shit.
I'm so
Then
excited
how
to
did
see
he-
this.
How did he use the wheel?
I don't know. We'll have to watch it again. My brain don't do good memory.
Okay.
Okay, but then my 3 sentences
right,
of
right,
the
right,
rest
right,
of the
right.
movie, because it's basically like 2 different movies, because it opens with like the last scene of a different movie. So it's like all these kids are fucking partying, and there's this pervert there who's wearing a hat that I don't like and some ruffles on his shirt.
Yeah, he's
Right.
got the ruffles.
Okay, so we know the Ruffle Man is an ingredient.
Yes,
Okay.
Ruffle Man is there. He's a pervert. I don't like his energy. He's bad vibes to a T.
Yeah.
He fucking goes out with his friends and is like, hey, y'all, you want to go to this fucking catacombs-ass looking piece of shit place that I found that's got all these spooky graves and stuff? And everybody's like, oh, that sounds like fun because it's 1972 and I have nothing else to do. And then,
Correction, it's AD 1972.
okay, same shit. Leave me alone.
As opposed to BC 1972.
There's a lot of things to process.
Which would have been a much better
would've been a
film.
way
That would have been a way
movie.
better movie. So then they all go and they resurrect Dracula, and then Dracula just like gives people really intense stares for the last half of the movie, and
Yeah.
then some construction happens and they find a dead body, and they're like, "Oh my god, Dracula
Okay.
fucking did that."
Does Dracula look sad?
Yeah,
Okay,
most of the
okay,
time.
Okay, cool.
Dracula usually
He
looks
either
kind of
looks
sad.
sad, high, or confused.
Well, Dracula generally looks pretty sad. Even going back to Bela Lugosi, he generally looks like he's like not having a good time with
yeah.
what's happening, and that he's kind of sad.
I
about
mean,
it.
he's alive
I mean, he's probably
forever.
not having a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I read a quick name, and then we'll go into watching the movie, and then we'll come back and discuss what
Wait,
was
can
real and what
Can I
wasn't.
throw out a quick concept?
Sure.
Yeah.
I just thought, what if a vampire had seasonal depression and they could only be awake at night, so they were just fucking depressed and they didn't want to go bite anybody?
That would be you if you were.
Oh
a
my
vampire.
god! That's so mean. Anyway, Brian, read your stupid name. I don't want to do this podcast anymore.
All right, everybody. We will see you guys after we watch the movie. And we're going to leave you with in the capable hands of our good friend Spooky Dark Spell.
That's the woman name? That's a woman name?
And we'll be back after
Spooky Dark Spell. I'm gonna be taking care of you while Brian,
God,
Nolan,
can
and
that be my
Caroline
drag
watch the
name?
film.
Yeah.
Spooky Dark Spell.
All right, we'll see you in a sec. And we're back. And we're back with the title, with the name. We know the name now.
We've been named.
We have been named, and I think let's all just as a family, let's all say the name real quick. As a family unit in 3, 2, 1.
Ghoul School.
You fucked it up. You fucked
I
it.
fucked it up so
Do you
bad.
say the?
No, because I made eye contact with Brian and then my brain turned off for a minute. It's very late.
So the podcast is called Ghoul School.
Ghoul School.
Which you already
Ghoul
know
School.
before, and you might notice that it's not any of the names that we
that
brought
we,
up
that we originally
in the
had
30-minute
discussed.
sequence where we were trying to figure out the name. That's because Fright School was our favorite, and it was taken by another podcast that does the exact same thing.
Not the exact
Not the exact same thing. And honestly, I bet they're worse at it.
I'm sure they're
they
worse
had
at it.
5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah,
so
from like 2 people.
Yeah,
20.
us.
Okay, 20 people, whatever
Look, this
That's
podcast.
more than we have currently.
Let's check the listener count.
that you know of. Nice.
Let's check the listener count. It is at 0
Yeah.
at the moment, but that's fine.
Well,
I have 12 actually.
Okay. All right. Let's get into. It's very late.
I
would-
have 9 pages of notes from this stupid fucking movie.
I would like to start with a little anecdote from the beginning of this movie. Oh, also, Dracula absolutely does die in a car accident.
He
did die
totally
in a
dies
car
in a
crash.
car crash.
Or the 1872 equivalent of a car crash.
So it's him and Van Helsing are fighting on top of like a carriage,
Yeah, horse-drawn carriage.
horse and buggy. It's just speeding along. It could be any time of day or night. It's every
Both.
different shot is a different time of day. And the horses just kind of fuck off away from it, and they just collide with a tree.
Yeah, something breaks.
Yeah.
Something breaks. Yeah.
And then Dracula has the wheel of the cart embedded in his chest.
Yes.
Oh, but then we get that moment. We get that moment where
Yeah.
he like sees the tree and he's like, "Ugh."
He has the
Lit.
exact same reaction that any human has when they're about to crash the car.
It's very good.
And
Yeah.
he splats and that wheel goes straight through his chest.
It does.
Which, wooden stake plus vampire equals dead vampire.
I guess-
Except for he struggles around for a really long fucking time.
Well, 'cause Van
wheel
Hel-
spokes, they count as stakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what does and doesn't count as a thing that kills vampires is kind of a big question.
It gets
in this movie.
really,
It gets a
really
little muddy.
loose
It gets
back.
muddy.
Uh,
in this-
showers,
back half of this movie.
showers kill vampires.
Yeah.
We're just saying.
There's a scene that we will discuss that
Yeah.
has some interesting definitions.
Yeah, we'll get there, but I do want to mention. So Dracula dies in a car accident. Van Helsing dies in the same car accident.
But like don't see him die. We see him at the end of the scene alive, and then cut to his funeral.
Yeah, he's super alive at the end of
he's
the
just
scene.
chilling. He doesn't look like he got beat up that bad.
I mean, he did fall off a moving carriage. It was at least going 15 miles an
yeah,
hour.
but he didn't look like he got hurt fatally.
Yeah.
He definitely was in pain.
He
but
got up
not
and he pushed that
fatally.
wheel. He pushed that wheel straight through Dracula's truck.
Also, looking from my notes, the music is fucking wild and continues to be fucking wild throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, I mean, it opens up with a fucking jazz piece.
Yeah, that plays throughout the whole thing. There's this leitmotif, I guess you would call it, that's not even that
It's
because
not.
it's just like they couldn't think of any better music.
It's
It's not
line.
a theme
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
anything. It's
It's
literally
the
it's
movie
just the
theme.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, there are 5 notes in the entire score of this film.
It's very groovy 70s, but also a little bit like crime drama noir, which
Yeah.
doesn't fit any of the
There's
genre.
literally none
Yeah,
of that.
there's not a moment when the music plays in this movie where you think, oh yeah, that's the music that should be playing. in
Actually,
this
you know,
movie.
now that I think about it, there is at least one scene of some serious detective work going on. In the
Very
movie.
true, very true.
Okay, I also
So there's a time lapse fade of
wait. Before the time lapse, I
Oh,
do want to
God.
mention one other thing. So during Van Helsing's funeral,
yes.
oh,
This is
right,
before that.
right behind the like the tombstone, the like Renfield character of the movie is taking a vial of Dracula's dusty remains, and he is just kind of burrowing a hole into the dirt,
With the stake that killed Dracula.
right, and shoving them down in there, and like the entire funeral procession is facing
right
this
there.
guy.
Yes.
Like they're all like it's right behind
They're
the tombstone.
literally watching this man just kind of play around in some dirt. And also, there are titles at the very beginning of this movie. And then there are more titles that happen during this funeral scene while he's digging in the dirt.
Yeah, wait.
Like, it opens with a Hammer production, yada yada, and like 2 credits. And then it continues the credits after the car crash.
Sir Christopher Lee's title card appears while a man is shoving his dusty remains into a little hole in the dirt.
Kind of shows you the whole premise of the movie right
And
there.
another side note, Chevy Hole guy
Yeah.
is the
pervert.
same actor as Johnny, who will meet later.
Our main boy.
Our good
So-
boy Johnny Alucard.
We pan up to the sky, and then hard cut, a plane appears to let you know that we're in the year 1972 where planes exist.
And
Hell
it is
yeah.
the most sudden plane I have ever seen.
Really
It's
just-
already halfway
it
through the sky.
appears in middle of frame.
Yeah.
Some really funky music's playing. We see cars, we see construction. We're like, yeah, this is a modern world, baby. We see some really wonderful credits, some beautiful names.
Yeah.
We meet our BFF, the love of our life. Cinematographer, ASC, Dick Bush.
Dick Bush.
And immediately following that, the editor, who was, I believe,
James
named-
Needs.
Yeah, so James.
And Yoda speak, editor, comma, James Needs.
So James does needs Dick Bush.
And not to be crass,
Yeah.
but
Not to be.
this movie does in fact look like it was shot by a Dick
by a
Bush.
man,
You
by
can
a
tell.
man named Dick Bush.
You can feel it.
Or just like some hair on a guy that they taped a camera to.
It's just like every shot is, you're like, wow, I'm about 3 feet closer to this than I need to be.
And you're just moving, and it doesn't make sense.
Well,
we-
the world is swinging.
Ah,
so.
yeah.
Right. It is absolutely swinging, to be sure.
So as London's swinging, we go into this party.
Yeah.
And my notes literally say lots of wiggling in front of a slightly too wide lens for how close we are.
There's
Not
extensive
dancing.
wiggling.
Not dancing.
Wiggling. Just kind of gyrating in front of the camera in a vaguely drugged out 70s way. There are a lot of people. We meet our pervert, Johnny.
Right. Johnny Alucard.
Played by the same guy.
Well, we don't know that's his name yet.
Okay, but I want to keep saying Johnny Alucard as many times as
Very
possible.
funny. His name's Johnny, and he's wearing a top hat and a shirt with ruffles when everybody's dressed in bell bottoms and tank tops like it is the 70s.
We found the ruffle pervert.
He definitely looks like a pervert.
We'd been looking.
Can I take a brief aside to say that so I wore a Munch Squad t-shirt to this recording because I thought that it might give me some good podcasting energy. But I did realize about 5 minutes in that it is about a size too small, and I was being slowly suffocated to death while the band Stone Ground played a very long set.
Be sure to go see their record that they never got to record. I think
No.
that's the only thing they ever did.
The band in this movie, I think, also did the score, probably.
Yeah.
Well, I have a number of questions about this scene because it's a highfalutin big party with all these rich people that are really shocked that these 70s hippies are chilling.
So
Yeah, it's like in a
there's
mansion.
this big band playing, and so I'm like, and they're so mad. They're like, but I'm like, how did they get into your tuxedo party?
Yeah, so let me set the scene here.
Yeah.
There is a band in the corner playing, 70s jams.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of teens just kind of vibing out in the middle of this really high-class living room. And then a line of disdainful rich people just
Lots of
watching.
disdainful rich people.
Just watching and being upset that it's happening.
Yeah, and the real band Stone Ground is playing at the set.
It is the real band.
which is
And they're
a,
sure
which
to
is
let you know.
Yeah, and they're like a 70s like they're the band you would expect from the 70s that has roughly
There's like 80 people in it.
there's like 4 to 70 people on this band. Every new shot
time
has a new
you
member.
see it, there's a new member.
Yeah, and so the loosest explanation for the band Stone Ground being for this party existing is that the old woman Dame Judi Dench would appear.
It is not Judi Dench.
I said Maggie Smith.
Maggie Smith also. She says she looks over at the butler and goes, I told you to invite a couple of your friends, which is a weird thing
It's
to tell
not
the
the
butler.
butler.
It looks like the
maybe
butler.
like
I think
her
it's the butler.
I think
grandson.
he's her grandson.
Oh,
But his
wasn't he holding a
response-
tray?
No.
Oh, okay,
He was just
all right.
wearing a suit.
His response is like is so good. He's like, I just wanted to bring the rock group Stone Ground.
Yeah, literally, like, this man invited the band Stone Ground,
Yeah.
and then a bunch of people showed up to their house like it was a concert.
I only invited the band Stone Ground to play some nasty jams while we all just had a normal rich person.
we had our evening tea, mother.
But again, it still raises the question of who brought the rest of the hippies? How the fuck did they get
Like, you
here?
have to open the door to let them in. You could just say no.
My assumption was that every single teenager, like 70s person at that party, was a member of the band Stone Ground, and they were all just coming up.
I think we are
They
left
very
to
well
assume
could
that
be.
Stone Ground brought these kids
Yeah,
to this rich people party.
yeah. We stopped talking
just
about the rich
follow.
people
I just
party.
think it's so funny that he
Oh wait,
goes,
one
So
last
they're, like-
thing though. Our creepy stalker man.
Yes.
What's his name again? What was
Johnny.
Johnny Alucard.
Yes.
his hat.
They're all predicting.
His hat is bad.
His hat's very bad and very low, but they're all predicting like how long it's going to take for the cops to get there, like
Yeah.
to bust up the party. And this guy seems very calm and very like well, quote unquote 70s creepy guy cool.
He's like, yeah, we'll just disband when they get here.
Yeah, and he calls out. He's like everyone's like guessing times and stuff, and he's like, it'll be 6 minutes 30 seconds, and you're like, ooh, this guy knows what he's talking about. Then he's wrong.
He's so wrong.
Very wrong.
like
He's
4
like
minutes.
4 minutes off.
And then they're all like, we can't rely on anyone. But my thing was, I actually don't know how long it took for the cops to get there.
It was
I
like
don't know if
5
it was-
seconds of movie time.
Yeah.
I thought they like, I don't know. It seemed like it either was 10 minutes later than they thought they were going to get there.
Yeah.
It
Or
was a
2
lot.
minutes. I don't know.
It was
I
very
mean-
confusing. It had seemed as if the old people were like, we got to get these people out of the house. We're going to call the police. And they were all just like, okay, we're going to keep partying until they fucking get here. So then cops show up. Our main cluster of teens sort of scatter. And cop smiles at teens doing it under a table. It makes me deeply uncomfortable.
That's
true,
the
that does
strangest way to end that
It's
scene.
and that's the last shot of the scene. It doesn't make any fucking
And also,
sense.
I just want to make sure that this gets included. We are throughout the entire scene. We're cutting to these kids that are under the table having sex, or one of them. I guess. And the girl is on the bottom, and she
is eating an apple.
Clearly very disinterested.
And the guy's just like wiggling around. It doesn't even look
I don't
like
even think they're having
sex.
sex. I think he's just moving on top of her, and she's chomping on an apple.
It's very weird. So, it's the next day, presumably. We don't know. It's daylight.
It could have been months later.
It was nighttime, and now it's daytime.
I honestly wonder if they're trying to insinuate that is when Johnny met them for the first time.
It very well could be.
Maybe. That's
it
possible.
Very well could be, because she did say we met him at a party.
This movie is very poorly made.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into that a little bit here.
Friends go to the pub.
Right.
Johnny says he is ready for something, quote, way, way out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A date with the devil. A bacchanal with Beelzebub.
Johnny, you shouldn't have.
And everybody's like, yeah, I'm into some fucking occult shit. Let's do this. And then they're like, wait a second, Ouija boards and stuff? That shit's scary. We shouldn't do that.
One of the girls does say, it could be a giggle.
Yes.
Which
they're
seems
kind
like a
of
weird thing to think.
Debating if they want to do what's called a black mass, apparently. Which I kept thinking that they were talking about like a mass, like a physical mass of something, you know?
Right.
Like if somebody's like, I have a mass on my arm. I just thought
this is you in your medical world.
Yeah.
You're not from our world of black
Demons?
mass demon movies.
So, they're just kind of chilling, and Johnny's like, we should go to this abandoned church that's scheduled for demolition.
He has the answer so fast that it's shocking.
Yeah. Like, we should go to a church that's been, like, desanctified. And he's like, well, there's an abandoned church that's about to be demolished. And they're like, okay.
Did you look that up? Like, it's the 70s.
Like,
you would have had to
so
know.
when are we going to do this? And he says, we meet there at midnight. And
It's like, why are you so excited about this?
Yeah. It's because it clearly seems like he's been trying to do this for a while.
And also,
and we can get into, like, because is the next scene when he goes back to his apartment or whatever?
Yeah, we'll talk.
Okay.
But he definitely is just being a fucking weirdo the whole time. And it seems like his friends aren't even friends with him. And they just kind of keep him around for no reason.
Yeah.
So then, why would you be friends with that guy?
You know how every friend group has that one guy who's clearly the crypt keeper?
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Like I think I said it during the movie. He looks like Mark Hamill if Mark Hamill was
nasty,
real, like a pedophile.
Just the nastiest. So Johnny drives home and then laughs maniacally in his own house. Yeah. And holds his tube of Dracula ashes at his Dracula shrine, where there is a picture of Dracula that we will see many more times.
And let's be clear about how excited he was to get home. He's skipping.
He
jumped down his entire.
Punching around.
So happy.
He puts on his little ring.
Yes.
He's like, this ring I didn't get to wear in public.
Yeah, because everyone will know.
It's in his Dracula box. He keeps the ring and the ashes in his Dracula box.
Brian, will you enlighten us on the Dracula print that he has on him?
Yeah, so he has like a painting illustration of like a very scary Dracula man doing a very scary Dracula face.
Very sketchy, very upsetting.
When you look at it, you think, okay, he like did this, or he got it from like some
Spooky
weird
man.
occult etching. Yeah, but then the next scene. We're in Jessica's the main character, right?
Yes.
Jessica's house, and we find out that she is in fact Jessica Van Helsing, the either daughter, granddaughter, or great-granddaughter great-great-granddaughter
one of those
of Van Helsing himself. And in that house where Van Helsing's either grandson, son, or great-grandson resides, who is also played by Peter Cushing. It's one of those things where the descendant is Peter Cushing.
Do we get his name? Or is he
He's like...
It's something Van Helsing.
Yeah, we hear it once.
We call him Van Helsing most of the time, and I will be referring to him solely as Peter Cushing.
Yeah, and Peter Cushing, this iteration of Peter Cushing, he has the exact same Dracula painting, which means that both of these guys, one of them has the copy, one of them has the print, or they both have a print that they just got off of like.
Yeah.
We also can't stress enough how distressing this
It's
image
a
is.
It's
very
very
distressing
upsetting. If you have the chance to Google it, I suggest you do. It will haunt your dreams forever.
Yeah. It's a good time.
So our friend Johnny laughs at his Dracula shrine, and then it's the next day somehow.
Yeah.
Or is it the night? Is it
No,
good
the
night?
couple is in the fucking car wash for some
yeah.
reason.
So this is
Drama.
This is Jessica
Yeah,
Van
this
Helsing.
is Jess and her boyfriend, who we don't know if his name is Bob or Paul or Ball.
Yeah.
It's any of the three. We should have had captions on.
We should,
Yes.
but we're calling him Ball.
I will probably refer to him as boyfriend most of the time.
I'm gonna call him.
I'm gonna
Ball.
call him Ball.
You think like if this is the Scooby-Doo gang, this is Fred and Daphne, and
Yeah.
Daphne's our main character.
Yeah.
So they're hanging out in the car wash for some
As
reason.
you do.
Talking about how having a black mass is like not a good idea.
Yeah.
And then we learn that Jess's granddad is an expert anthropologist and like studies these things. And then we get like weird glamour car shots of them driving home and like smiling and laughing at each other.
In their Joker mobile.
They do drive a Joker mobile.
Yes,
it is purple
a
and
green
green.
and purple car with like a pattern on the side.
It
that
has
doesn't make
purple
sense.
headlights, or at least it does
Oh
at night.
dear.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Next scene, she goes home. I wrote down her hair sucks because it
Her
does.
hair sucks because it's so 70s. It looks like she has a haircut, but also a wig under her haircut.
So
Yeah.
she has, just to paint a verbal picture for you, she has long hair underneath and then a short haircut on top of it.
Right. She's a layer cake, if you will.
Yes, she
She's an
looks kind
onion.
of like a poodle.
but like bad.
Yes.
Like a bad poodle.
A poodle that got groomed and it's very upset.
and I don't
about
even
it.
like poodles to start with.
So her hair sucks. She's in her granddad's study, and he comes home and sees that she's reading a book that's about Black Mass. And he's like, "Oh my god, you shouldn't do that. That's evil stuff. Don't get involved with evil stuff." And she's like,
Get out the dark books.
she's like, "Oh my god, it's fine. Like, I don't even do drugs or anything. Like, it's fine." And she assures him she's all good. He's like, "But be careful of the occult." And then she leaves, and then he pulls out a Dracula book from the shelf
that he wrote.
that he wrote
Or someone in his family wrote.
to
No, it was
show
him. It was
Oh,
him.
it was him?
Yeah.
Okay.
to show directly the title to the camera and nothing else.
Bright
Puts
yellow
it
book.
back in. After he pulls it out halfway to show it to the camera, he acknowledges that he has shown it for long enough, pushes it back in, and then stares at his identical picture of Dracula that he also has in his house.
And his portrait of his grandfather, father, great grandfather, we don't know.
Yeah.
Original Van Helsing that was also played by Peter Cushing. So
Yeah.
Yes, that is just lurking
the
behind
entire
him.
family just looks exactly the same, I guess.
Can I just sidebar? If I had a distant relative that looked exactly like me, like just exactly me, I would feel really self-conscious about putting a portrait of them up on the wall.
Absolutely.
Like,
It's super weird.
like I wouldn't trust anyone to differentiate. Like, oh, that must be a relative. Like
Yeah.
I would think they just thought like he's put up
A giant portrait of
painted
himself.
portrait of himself in fancy dress.
Big Donald Trump move. Like,
Oh dear. So it is now midnight on the night of the Black Mass. They show up in their bunk ass looking car. And they're
Fleeing
like,
from Batman.
they're like, "Oh, well, we shouldn't go in there." And the boyfriend's like, "Well, let's at least look around." Smiley face, smiley face.
this is also like this is the start of the fence.
Yes.
Oh,
so
yeah.
expeditions.
they sneak through a hole in the fence
Yeah.
that they found by sort of just punching the fence a bunch.
a fence
Yeah.
surrounding this church that's about
Yes.
to be demolished.
So the church is about to be demolished. It's surrounded by a fence, and then they just kind of like bang on the fence a couple times and find a couple loose boards, and then they crawl through that.
Yeah.
As if that's a completely normal thing to do.
It becomes a just keep that
It's
in your
a
mind.
motif.
It's a motif through the film.
it's a trope, if you will.
It's
Yeah.
just this movie has a theme of fences for
That's
some
fence
reason.
themes.
Yeah.
So the boyfriend and Jess are walking around. They're like, "Oh, this is creepy." And then he sees that there's a Van Helsing name on a grave. Whoa. And he's like, oh, these boys are pranking me, and that's mean. And then this is when we realize that Peter Cushing might be 100 years old. Because Jessica Van Helsing looks at the grave and says, oh, that's my great-grandfather.
No, she says, like,
that's
my great-grandfather.
Yes. Okay. Which makes...
And Peter Cushing is her grandfather.
Yeah.
And her great-grandfather died in 1872, 100 years before.
In the opening of the film, to the day, you're right.
To the day.
In the opening of the film, which is that facsimile of a car crash.
Yeah. Which would have to make her grandfather, Peter Cushing, the man who looks to be like 60, 100 calendar years old at least. At the very least.
And man, he looks good.
He looks amazing.
Can we just talk about how hot
he's
Peter
beautiful.
Cushing is?
Peter Cushing is hot as fuck.
He is refined beauty.
An alternate title for this podcast would absolutely be the Peter Cushing is hot cast.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
he is the sexiest man
Peter
in the world.
Cushing is hot cast.
Yeah.
We will be talking very much about how much we all love Peter Cushing because he's in half of the movies we're gonna watch.
I'm sure we will talk about him multiple times.
So we find out that he might be 100, or she might have just said a bad line, or the script might be stupid.
Yeah. It's the last one.
We
don't have to get
more.
it's the
I don't
last
think
one.
we need to speculate on that. It's the last one.
And the boyfriend's like, oh, how dare you play this prank? And she's like, no, it's like legit. This is a family member of mine who's buried here. And then he gets really pissed off that they took her to a place that a family member was died at.
Yeah, that's fair.
Was died at.
Yeah. And then a friend like spooks them and is like, ha ha ha. He laughs for way too long. He's on meth or something. He's like really losing his mind.
He's really strange. He's like wearing a monk costume.
Hey guys, where does he go?
Yeah, what actually happens to
Where
that
does he
guy?
go after that?
Well, okay, wait. So, I don't know. We'll just talk. We'll get
Okay,
into it.
yeah.
I don't think he ever shows up.
He disappears, doesn't he?
He does.
Okay,
he truly
let's-
does.
yeah, let's
So he like has this whole maniacal laughter. The couple wants to turn back. The monk guy says, "Kick me, I like it," which I wrote
does.
down for some reason.
We are left to assume he has a kick fetish.
Yeah, and
Kick
this is
in the forehead.
This is not Ruffle Pervert. This is Meth Man.
This is Meth Man.
Yeah, that's very important to
Meth monk.
Yeah, Meth Monk. Yeah.
So now we're in the church, and good old Johnny made a shrine.
And this is where you walk in and you see Johnny, and Johnny's got this big black robe on. This is where you say, I don't want to hang out with Johnny anymore.
He's got the worst bangs. Also, this is the first time you see his hair, like when he's not wearing a fucking top hat down to his eyebrows.
Yeah, and you realize why.
That his bangs are like a quarter of an inch down his forehead.
His hair is horrifying.
Yeah.
It's truly upsetting.
It's a nightmare.
And then the boys all get in a fight, and they're like, oh, you brought Jess to a place where, like, her family was buried? That's fucked up, dude. And they're like, bro, like, don't even worry about it. It's not that big a deal. We can just do the ritual. It's okay. And there's a pentagram on the ground.
Yeah.
He
turns on the
Johnny
monster mash.
says to close the devil's circle,
Yeah.
which signals the monk man to turn on this tape player that just plays spooky noises.
To which Johnny then says, dig the music!
he says specifically, dig the music, kids.
Yes. And he keeps telling them to feel it and let it flow through them.
And they just do
really
a
like-
bunch of wiggling.
I
They just
really
start
like the idea
convulsing.
because he keeps saying like they've chosen you to be the, and I'm like, they give you a script for this? The demons, the old
The
ones,
ritual.
and did it include saying the words "dig the music, kids," or was there like a portion where there was like brackets and it just said "vamp"? Like
Yes.
it's just like
There's a little bit of improv going
Yeah.
on.
I think Dig
Make
the
it
Music
your
Kids
own.
is absolutely an opening line that a demon wrote and was just like, what's hip these days?
yeah, this is what
Dig
kids.
the music, kids.
And then he just fucking talks about how you need to let it flow through them, and they're all wiggling and convulsing, like, kind of sexually. It's really weird.
Yeah.
It wasn't even kind of sexually. I
It
mean,
was
like,
very sexually.
But it's also kind of poorly shot for sexually.
right,
Yeah.
you said there was a shot of boobs, but like,
You
can't
didn't
see
realize
the
it's
boobs.
boobs
really
until
know
they're
it.
already gone.
until it cut away.
And it's weird because I wouldn't normally think about it, but I expect more from Dick Bush. Like if I expect
man.
one thing from Dick Bush,
He
it's
should be
this.
good at this one thing, and he
Yeah.
can't do it.
And then, like, Jess and her boyfriend start straight up making out, and there's a shot where, like, you see them in the foreground making out, and then Johnny in the background just going, "That's it," and you're like, no! Ugh.
And also, like, he's, like, his speech is so long, and it's not coherent, but it's definitely, like, rehearsed to where I'm like, did you know all of this? Like, did you memorize all this?
Yeah.
Like, it's like...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, see, this is where I assume, and he, this is where and he knows that Jessica is Jessica Van Helsing.
Yes.
And this is where
he wants to sacrifice Jessica Van Helsing.
Right.
Because she's a
she's a Van Helsing.
But because if he sacrifices somebody, then Dracula rises.
Yeah.
Right.
He's trying to raise Dracula from the dead.
And my question is, how long has he been trying to do this? Because he's like 25, maybe.
At
24.
tops.
Yeah.
How long has he been trying to do this resurrecting Dracula
I think
thing?
they're supposed to be high school kids, pretty much.
Are they supposed to be high school kids?
Like,
That's
late
insane.
high school or like college, it
Oh,
seems.
man.
Because they're like still living with their parents.
Well, they're still living with their vampire hunting grandparents.
Yeah. So he says some spooky shit. I didn't write any of it down because it was a lot and I couldn't process any of it. It's just words.
Just take like a normal yoga class like dialogue and replace some of the words with Beelzebub.
Open a
It's basically
thesaurus, throw a couple knives at it. Whichever words are gone are the words that you should say.
that.
Yeah. And then some smoke happens.
Lots of smoke, actually.
Yeah.
Lots of smoke is just happening, and then Jess gets really freaked out. She's like, "This is intense. I don't like it." The ground outside starts rumbling.
Hell yeah.
Dracula's shaking his little bones under there.
He sure is.
And he wants to sacrifice Jess, but some other girl's like, "You should sacrifice me." And she's like, "Really?"
She's mad about it.
She
Like,
wants it, and like, it's sexual.
It's
for
very
sure.
yeah, absolutely.
So then he does this really nasty shit where he mixes Dracula's ashes with his blood from his hand in this cup that's on her chest, and
Which
it's the grossest effect I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He already had those ashes. He
did,
had
of
those
course,
at
yeah.
He
his
had
apartment.
them in the bottle.
The
in his shrine.
In his shrine with his cute little ring above his weird his Dracula painting.
The viscosity
Ugh.
Good word. Word of the day.
is
Too
unpleasant.
thin, but also too thick.
Yeah, this is
And
actually
too bright.
the
Yes.
Ghoul School word of the day is viscosity.
Viscosity.
And in this movie, it's bad.
So remember, everybody, viscosity equals bad.
Yeah. But actually, it's pretty good. Like it accomplishes.
upsetting.
Yeah, it's very upsetting.
So then like the grave is like rumbling and smoking outside, and
Dracula is vaping, pulling some fat clouds.
The fattest clouds you have ever seen.
and he spills blood on the girl, and she like gets out of her hypnotic trance and freaks out and starts running around, and she's like, help me, and everybody freaks out and runs away.
Yeah.
And she's like, guys, help, I'm covered in blood and ashes. This sucks.
God, I wish that was what she said.
But she's not running very far. She
not
like
running.
runs out to the door of the church.
Not
Yeah.
even. She makes it to the center of the church and collapses in
Yeah.
hysterics and is just like screaming for them to help her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's upsetting.
And they're like, see ya.
Do you guys want to explain how we get introduced to Sir Dracula? Because
Yeah.
my notes just say Dracula happens.
So,
Which is accurate.
So what happens, as I remember it, is that Alucard, he runs out, and after he's done the whole thing with the blood and the viscous ashes and whatnot, he pulls the stake out of the dirt, which is weird because was it always there?
No, it wasn't. Suddenly it was there.
It was always there.
It was always there, so nobody ever. It doesn't matter.
The
So
stake has been in the ground the whole time. It was like
This is the stake from the wheel at the
Yeah,
beginning
this
of the
is
movie.
a spoke
this
from
is
the
the
wheel.
stake that when the weird pervert at the funeral was just like digging in the dirt, he left the stake
Right.
in the ground with the ashes, and then
So he pulls it out of the ground, and then the fattest cloud just gets ripped out into the sky, and it's just all this smoke, and Christopher Lee himself, the wonderful Christopher Lee Dracula, rises from the grave, and he just kind of keeps rising
He's
from
so
the grave.
big.
It's so big.
The
He's
angle,
so big.
he looks like he is 70 feet tall. Just
The
looking
angle
down.
of this camera is on, like, in the dirt at this
It is
point.
at Dick Bush level.
There's a lot of nostril shots
Oh,
in
yes.
this movie, like looking straight up the bottom of somebody's face.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of like magic school bus. We're about to go into this person's body.
Yeah.
Shot.
So, but the thing is that Johnny is shot at eye level. And then we cut back to Johnny, and it looks like he's just real small.
Yeah.
Really tiny.
Yeah.
So Dracula happens. He goes inside. He eats the girl.
Yeah.
Um,
Laura.
Laura.
We only really learn her name after she's already dead.
And then there is a moment I actually like. After that, when they're in the car.
Yeah, so they're debriefing in the car, and they're mad at Johnny. They're like, "Yo, that shit was crazy." That's all I remember from that part.
The boyfriend was Ball.
Oh, yeah.
He goes because God, I'm forgetting
They're wondering
everyone's
if
name.
Laura's gonna be okay
Yeah.
when they see her the next day.
And he goes, "Oh, we'll go back to the club, and Laura'll be there, a bit drained, but she'll be there." And I was like, you know what? That's pretty good. Maybe my expectations are very low.
That's the
at
most.
this point.
That's a line Brian Stork would write in a script.
Absolutely.
I don't know if that's a
Also,
compliment.
do we? I mean, Dracula wants Jessica.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
pissed off that he didn't sacrifice the right girl, but he's like, "All right, I'll get you Jessica, but like, you want to eat this one first? You just woke up." And he's
Yeah,
like, "Yeah, I'm pretty
You're
hungry."
Yeah, I mean, like, we're, like, gonna get Jessica later, but, like, don't sleep on the 444. Like, get in there, like, gets a little bit of,
Definitely
Yeah.
don't sleep on the 444.
Yeah.
So it's the next day. We're all at the pub again. We're worried about Laura. Johnny's not there. It's like late afternoon.
Yeah.
It's like in the middle of the day during this. And they're all like, "What just happened? That was crazy. Has anybody seen Laura? Why are we friends with Johnny?"
It's basically, yeah. Why did we ever become friends with this obvious pervert?
And then, like, we see a bunch of kids kicking the same fence.
It's cross-cutting between these two scenes
Yes,
that are not
between them at the
related.
pub and then these kids that are just wandering around. And it's like as if it's a normal thing to just kick a fence.
Look,
it's-
1972 AD was a time when there was so little to do that kids would spend their Saturdays just kicking fences at construction
What
sites.
else do you have to do?
There is
Yeah.
a moment when they're talking about whether or not they should summon the devil, and Ball says,
Ball.
"What else is there to do?"
Yeah.
And he's not wrong.
Yeah.
So these kids are kicking the fence. They find a spot in the fence. They go into the construction site, and construction has already like pseudo begun. Like the equipment is there. They're just
Yeah.
not really doing much. Then we cut back to the pub, and Johnny shows up.
Yeah.
And everybody's real pissed at Johnny.
Yeah.
They beg him for an explanation.
Well, actually, I feel like Meth Monk.
Yeah.
He's pretty cool.
Well, Meth Monk doesn't know what the fuck's going on.
Meth
That's
Monk desperately does not think that what happened was real because he was on a lot of drugs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Ball is really mad. Ball is the most mad.
Yeah, Ball's the most mad of all.
Yeah.
That hurt me. So everybody's like, "Yo, what on earth was that?" And he was
Yeah.
like, "Y'all were real drunk." And they were like, "You didn't."
He literally says it was a prank.
Yeah,
Like,
he like pulled out a blood capsule and was like, "See, it was all fake." And they're like, "Oh, really? Then where's Laura?" And
He
was
drops that blood capsule in like a bucket of water,
And it looks
just
like
looks
Kool-Aid.
like Kool-Aid. Like he's like, "See," and then like a couple of them like, "Oh shit, yeah,
They're like,
that's right."
"Oh yeah, it looks exactly
yeah,
the
that looks
same."
like the horribly viscous, bright red, like,
incredibly opaque blood that we saw before that looked like paint.
yeah, your blood is paint, dude.
Also, just check his arm.
Yeah.
yeah,
Look at his arm.
yeah.
He was wearing long sleeves. You're not just gonna rip up a man's sleeve,
I mean,
right?
you could ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they believe him pretty quick, and he's like, I just dropped Laura off. Like, she's fine. She's chilling. And then we cut back to the kids who are on the construction site and Laura's dead body.
Well, you don't even get to see her whole dead body. You
It's
just
just
see
her
her head.
face.
It's just her head.
Yeah.
And
Her
I'm
head
like,
is under rubble.
It's a pretty effective dead body shot.
It is. It is. It's actually pretty
really,
freaky.
It's kind of a funny cut.
And
It is a funny
there's a
cut.
lot of
Very
stuff.
ironic cut.
There's a lot of stuff that's funny in this scene, and I don't know if it's meant to be funny or not. Like when it cuts back to them, they're like, wait, where did you take her? And he's like, oh, I took her back to like Whitefall or wherever where she lives.
Watford.
Like I took her back to Watford to the train station to go there. And they're like, she's not from Watford. And she's like, yeah, she's from Watford. And they're like, I guess she is.
They're like, all right, sounds like she's from there now. So then they find the dead body, and they're like, oh no. And then cut back to Johnny trying to get Jess to come to this concert with him so that he can sacrifice her to Dracula.
Yeah.
Don't tell Jess.
I wonder if it was a Stoneground show.
Probably.
God, I hope so.
But then, like, this other friend is like, I really want the tickets too. And Jess was like, I'm not going. I have a date with Ball. And then, so he's like, fine, I'll take this other girl.
So he inadvertently sacrifices another girl.
Yeah, he's like, all right, I know Dracula's going to be pissed at me tonight because I couldn't get Jess again.
Yeah.
But, like, I guess I'll just take this other girl.
Ugh.
I'm going to speed through this next part because it doesn't make any sense. So the detectives are, like, examining Laura's body, and they say a bunch of stuff that doesn't sound like human speech.
No.
Like, the sentences never finish, and they're all just fragments.
It was like they put the boom mic like in a shower in the other room.
Yeah.
There are a lot of scenes in this movie where characters talk for a while, and then
it's very muffled, and
yeah,
you can't hear what they're saying.
and the scene ends, and you're just like, I could have sworn I was listening to people talk.
And
but
they're
I'm not.
already very British.
Yeah.
Yes, incredibly British. And then cut back to, like, the couple's on a date, and Jess is like, I don't know, I feel pretty weird about Laura. I don't think she actually lives in that place that he said she lives at. I know she doesn't.
You know, I don't believe the pervert who said the wrong place that our missing
The
friend
pervert
lives.
that I saw cut his arm open and drop blood on our friend Laura last night.
And Ball's like, dude, relax. We're, like, gonna go see a movie or some shit.
Which also, like, Ball did a 180 on Johnny. He was so angry at him at the beginning of the previous scene.
I believe Johnny. Like, he was just fucking around. Like us bros do.
Hashtag I believe Johnny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hashtag believe Johnny.
Yeah.
He's like, Jess, you just need to chill out. And she's like, I don't know. She doesn't live there.
She doesn't live there.
I don't know what else to tell you.
And that's the whole scene, and they cut away.
Yeah.
They cut to the detective's office. They're talking about shit I don't care about, really. They're just discussing the details of the case. It doesn't matter.
I can't remember what they were talking about.
Okay, but what does matter
This is probably the most important part of the movie.
is that in the middle of this conversation, the detective just takes the set of Newton, he has a Newton's cradle on his desk.
Yeah.
One of those little metal ball things that hits them back and forth. And he just starts that up.
In the middle
Just in the,
of the
right,
scene.
well, he finished a sentence, and you think, oh, that's gonna be like the action that he finishes the scene on.
Would have
But
been
then
a nice little hard cut.
he picks up the phone and starts having a conversation that we're supposed to follow.
As you hear,
Clack, 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 clack.
It's a perpetual motion machine.
so while this guy is talking, your eyes are like, what's that? What's that down there? Why is that moving? It's still moving.
Not only are your eyes only focused on this Newton's cradle in the corner of the frame, but like his voice is indistinguishable.
It's louder
because it's louder than the dialogue. It's just banging back and forth, this loud metal noise, and you're just like, I hope he didn't say anything important.
It really is like a 1-2. Like he clacks the ball, the phone rings. He stands
Immediate.
It had to have been an intentional blocking choice.
Oh man.
So, then we have a really nasty scene that I'd like to just speed through where, our lovely pervert is with the woman that he was like, I'm gonna take you to the concert, like, at his house, and then he's like, he calls his bedroom the inner sanctum, which I don't like, and then he says, food, music, and wine now, playtime later.
Gross.
And then walks into his room for some reason while the girl lights up a joint.
Almost sets the joint on fire.
So now we're in Peter Cushing's office. The detective boys there asking him for help. They say that they suspect a demonic cult. And then Peter Cushing is like, I suspect vampirism. And then he says that the original Van Helsing is his great-great-grandfather.
His great grandfather or his grandfather.
His grandfather.
Yeah, his grandfather.
which would make it Jess's great-great-grandfather, which would make Peter Cushing not 100 years old.
So somebody was wrong, and
I'm pretty sure it was Jess.
I choose to believe it's Peter Cushing.
I also choose to
because
believe
the
Peter
bits
Cushing
where
was
he
wrong.
is sprinting through the streets of London and fighting vampires are much better if he is also 100 years old.
Yes. At least.
At least.
Yeah, he's probably like 120, 122.
Yeah, a spry 122.
Very spry.
And then he finds out that
A
Jess
sexy 122.
He is so hot.
He is really
Those
hot.
fucking cheekbones fuck me up.
This is when Peter Cushing finds out that Jess is like loosely involved. And it's like, oh no, my Jess could never be involved. And they're like, well, they were friends. So like, we're going to ask her questions. And then she comes home. She's wearing a crazy bonnet.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. Her outfit is just absolutely bizarre.
She's cosplaying as Bo Peep, yeah.
It's not
Yes.
even 70s. It's just like,
Upsetting.
you look like a children's book. Like,
Yeah. Like if every character in a children's book's costumes were layered upon each other.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
It's the amalgamation.
Yes. So she comes home to Peter Cushing and the detectives all standing around being like, vampires? Question mark. And she finds out that Laura died, and then they cut back to Johnny and the girl. It doesn't matter. They're just making out.
Yeah, I feel like we can skip to he takes her back to Dracula.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, not yet.
No, oh god. Is there more stuff?
There's another scene where fucking Peter Cushing is comforting Jess, and this is when we find out my favorite piece of information.
Oh yeah.
First, he's like, Johnny, who's Johnny? And she's like, well, he just kind of showed up like a couple months ago at a party, which we presume is the party at the beginning of the movie.
Stone
I
ground
can't
party?
believe I
It
almost
doesn't make any sense.
I
The
can't
party
believe I
with
almost
rock
skipped
group
past
Stone
this.
Ground.
And then he says, Johnny, what's the surname of this Johnny? And she says, oh, Johnny Alucard.
And he doesn't get it yet.
And he doesn't get it
Well,
yet.
he's on to something.
He's got something in there.
He's got some, like a little light bulb goes off.
Cut to Peter Cushing later, drawing lines on paper to put Alucard backwards to spell Dracula.
He
And
has
that
to
is the detective work.
He has to draw it out, and then when he draws it out and he gets that last D on there, he's like, and he
That's when
looks
he
back,
figured it out.
and he's like, my god.
Not when it said Dracula.
Only when
He
it
couldn't
said
be sure.
Dracula.
He couldn't be sure yet.
And then Jess is asleep. She has a nightmare that Johnny is killing another girl, but it's like actually real and it's happening. And
Yeah.
she's like freaking out. She screams so loud.
It's real loud.
He comes in and is like trying to comfort her, moves her into her mark twice.
Yeah, Peter Cushing is a consummate professional and basically a grip in this movie, where he will just move people into their marks on camera.
Within that 10-second span of film, he moves her into her mark.
Yeah, he moves her to her mark. He moves the pillow into position. He turns on the light. He sets her down. He puts the cushion up. Like, he's doing all of this set design work.
And then we cut back to Johnny at the church still with like the woman's dead body, and he's like begging Dracula for immortality. And this guitar
kinda
riff in the
gross.
background
It's like, what?
has like a wah-wah filter on it.
Yeah.
It is not appropriate for this scene.
I don't know if there's ever a moment in the movie when the music is appropriate.
But it is never more inappropriate than this scene where he is begging for immortality over this woman's dead body. God, that's literally what it's like. So, then Van Helsing, like, gives Jess a cross necklace, and then we cut back to Johnny fucking dumping the body and going to a laundromat to eat a lady.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Good for him.
So then we're in the detective's office. They find out there's 2 more bodies. They all have vampire marks. The detective is still like, vampires aren't real, though. And this is when we learn some information I don't think any of us knew about vampires.
Yeah.
Which is that apparently a silver blade can kill them. And also clear running water.
Any clear running water.
There's so many things in this. Okay, just for starters, silver bullets, generically a werewolf thing.
Yes.
It's a me thing.
Yeah, and a Nolan thing. Silver bullets. I guess any bullet would.
Mostly silver bullets. Though.
Silver bullets are extra lethal. He's allergic.
And I do there's the obvious thing of vampires aren't usually weak to silver, which is weird. But it's also the fact of he says that silver bullets are too cumbersome and of a thing to put together. And it's is that more cumbersome than killing a vampire with a knife?
Yeah.
Just a switchblade.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
And I'm also this is Hammer. Y'all should know the rules.
Yeah.
The rules have been established time and time again.
You made the rules for the most part.
Yeah.
So we find out that clear running water is also something that can kill vampires. Just like any clear running water, a fucking fire hose can kill a vampire. Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
Or perhaps you might say a shower.
Just keep that in mind for later.
A shower.
And then they're talking about how Dracula goes to his grave every night out of routine.
Which we've never seen him do.
Yeah.
He also doesn't have a grave.
And also his grave is outside.
It's just a hole.
Yeah, it's not even a grave,
with
it's
a stick in it.
Yeah, it's the hole where the Renfield guy did a little digging and stuck
also
the vial
played
in.
by Johnny Alucard. Same actor.
I like the idea that Dracula just crunches himself down into the vial again.
He turns into a bed.
Yeah.
So then we have some weird shots of boyfriend Ball just waddling around town, and we don't really know what he's doing.
Boyfriend Ball does a little waddle, yeah.
Yeah, he's going into the club, sort of, but through the back because it's closed. I don't know. We don't know what he's up to.
Yeah.
And Peter Cushing looks at a silver blade alone in his house.
Yeah.
And then we cut back to the boyfriend hopping a fence to go into the pub.
Right. He bangs the fence again. That's the third instance of fence banging.
He punches the fence, and then it's I'm just gonna jump it.
Yeah, fence banging is a plot point.
I'm gonna jump it.
Yeah.
And then Peter Cushing punches a fence. And we don't know where he is. It's not the same fence. We think it's at the church. I don't know.
Another side, maybe? He's just punching fences.
But he was in his house last time we saw him, and now he's outside at a fence and kicking it.
Yeah.
So then the boyfriend fucking teleports.
He does. Yeah.
This is where we figured out his name is Ball, by the way. So this note just says BF teleports, and his name is Ball.
Yeah.
And is picking up Jess. He brings her to an empty club where Johnny pops out of nowhere. Yeah. Some real funky music kicks up.
Real funky music.
And he just sort of gives you a sweet little demure smile.
Yeah, he just gives you a little grin. And this is where we figured out that if you remove the fangs from all vampire face shots, you would just have comedy gold.
The doofiest smiles.
The doofiest, stupidest guys on the planet. Just
hello.
Hey.
So he's just kind of smiling at him with his big old fangs. The other thing is Dracula's fangs aren't that big, but his fangs are gigantic.
They're so big.
He can't close his mouth.
No. So then
Ball's a vampire.
Yeah, we find out Ball's a vampire. They both attack her.
Another 180 for this character.
Yeah.
Also, by this point, this is when we should start to be thinking about the fact that our meth monk is gone.
Yeah.
He's gone and he's never coming back.
We don't see him for the rest of the movie. He just disappears.
I miss my good meth monk.
Yeah.
He is a good boy.
Yeah.
The cross burns Johnny's hand. He picks up the necklace and is oh no, my hand is on fire. But then they knock her down and she's knocked out. Peter Cushing's in a phone booth.
Yeah.
Superman style.
He's trying to call
her
why? Or whatever.
Yeah.
Because he's in London.
Huh?
What?
They have phone booths in London.
I think they had phone booths. It was the 70s.
It was the 70s.
No, it was just a London.
Okay.
Okay.
Have you seen Harry Potter?
Yes!
He does get out of the phone booth exactly like Superman.
Absolutely. So he's on the phone.
Lived
in London, as we all know.
And he's is Jess safe? And the housekeeper's no, she left. And he goes on a chase, ? Slowly, ?
Yeah, he just kind of sprints. I mean, he sprints to the bar.
He sprints, but not sprinting. He's jogging leisurely.
Well, he's 100 years old.
Yes.
It's a miracle that he can walk.
I wrote that the music bangs in this part because it totally does.
Is that theme again? Oh wait, that's the only theme they have.
Yeah.
But it's got like this guitar that's like
Yeah.
and it's like he's running around and you're like, oh yeah, this rules.
Yeah.
He almost hops a fence but doesn't and goes in the back door of this pub.
Yeah, so this was the major disappointment of the movie.
Yeah, we realized he didn't actually hop a fence.
We all remembered him hopping a fence, and he just does like a cool pull-up.
He does a cool pull-up on a fence.
It is really fucking
It's
cool.
really cool. He does it like...
Peter Cushing is
doing
so
a pull-up?
hot.
He's hot as fuck. He doesn't even have to take a second. Like, we can all agree that Peter Cushing is fucking jacked.
Peter Cushing hits the gym for at least an hour a day.
At least an hour a day.
Peter Cushing is made of pure muscle because he's so skinny, but he's so ripped.
It's all bone and it's all muscle. Yeah.
So he like almost hops a fence and then he goes into the back of the pub. He sees the cross on the ground and it's like, oh no, Jess. And then he runs around the city, I guess, for a little bit longer.
He gets distracted by a mannequin.
He gets distracted by a mannequin that he realizes is not Jess.
Yeah, there's a very artistic shot of a mannequin and then panning to him like, huh. And it really looks like he's like, oh, that's not her.
He genuinely thought that mannequin was Jess.
Yeah.
He stopped by a friend who has Johnny's address just on file. But she takes 10 years to give him the address.
Yeah, he's like, I'm running out of time. She's in terrible danger. You know where he is. And she's like,
Last time I was there,
she was like,
September,
it was pretty weird. Like, he's
Was
a
it
pretty weird
September?
dude.
I think it might have been August.
And he's like, dude, she is in mortal danger. Tell me where. Then we're back in Johnny's apartment. We're in the home stretch here, y'all.
This is a long
Only
movie.
a page of notes left. This is
God.
the longest trek up the longest mountain.
and you could feel the crew getting exhausted
Yes,
as the movie went on.
got exhausted.
They weren't
at the
even
end.
shooting chronologically.
No,
yet
but you can
still
tell.
Feel.
I find the beginning of the movie incredibly enjoyable, but this part of the movie, I was like, oh my god.
Well, there's a period that comes in a lot of these kind of like 70s like schlocky movies where they just get real boring for like 40 minutes.
So we're in his apartment and we realize that ambient sunlight doesn't hurt him like at all.
Yeah, he's fine.
Like it's genuinely bright in his room and he's just chilling.
Yeah.
And then Peter Cushing shows up and yells at him.
It's fucking hot, dude. It's really hot.
It's so hot. I want to like fucking yell at me, Daddy. Jesus.
Ew. Oh no. So anyway, they fight, and then Peter Cushing throws a cross and the Bible into his sleeping coffin that I guess he just kind of has now.
Yeah, it's pretty good. He throws it in there like a fucking
Typically, you
grenade.
get them in the mail a couple days after.
Like
Yeah.
when we saw his apartment at the very beginning when he's talking to his Dracula shrine, he did not have a coffin.
Okay, but you know he had that ready somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, you know he was
He
like,
had
oh,
a
I'm
guy.
so fucking excited for when I get to use
had
this,
a guy.
this secret coffin.
He injures Peter Cushing.
Yes,
Yeah.
he stabs him in the arm. And then Peter Cushing beams him with a mirror. To like beam the sunlight that was coming in from the window anyway, just more directly at him. And he's like, oh no. And he's like stumbling into the bathroom. And this bathroom has a skylight.
Massive skylight.
Which he opens. It's his house.
Which he opens on accident, quote unquote, I guess. And then he falls backwards and turns on the shower and falls in the bathtub.
He really Mr. Beaned himself to death.
Peter Cushing, I cannot stress enough how little Peter Cushing had to
just,
do
like,
with this
trying
man's
to-
death.
Peter Cushing picked up a mirror and this man killed himself. That is what
It
happened.
takes this man like 3 minutes to kill himself on his own.
And he gets like full up with water and Peter Cushing like runs in and is like, where's Jess? And he's like, Dracula has her.
Yeah. Reminder, Dracula's in this fucking movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a while.
He's like, Dracula has her.
I mean,
and he's like, where? And he's like, Dracula has her. You're gonna rot in hell. And then he just fucking dies.
You can tell that they only had Christopher Lee for like 10 minutes and like a day and a half, maybe. Because they had him for the car accident, and then they had him for standing around in a castle.
For like a little bit.
For a
just
little,
looking generally disgruntled.
Yeah.
So like the detective and his glasses friend show up and they tend to his wounds.
And now at this point, they're explaining like how this is going to work and that like it's a vendetta
what
on
the
the Van
plan
Helsings.
is.
And you think like, oh, we're at like the end of Act 2, I guess. And there's 9 minutes left in the movie.
There's 9 minutes.
There's 9 minutes left in this movie when they're
speaking-
like, the Van Helsings are like being sought out by Dracula.
Yeah.
Like you think that would
Who
be
is in
something.
this movie?
Yeah.
You think that would be something you would introduce? to like set up the stakes.
Yeah, speaking of time, there's 5% battery left on my laptop. Let's find out if we can get through the last 9 minutes of this film.
I'm sure we can. It was so boring.
There's a lot of scenes in this movie where nothing happens.
Nothing happens.
Yeah.
This movie should be 35 minutes long.
We are down to 4%.
So Peter Cushing goes to the church, finds Bob's dead.
Burgers.
So he finds that Jess is like laying on the altar. She's like unconscious and hypnotized or whatever. And he's like, I can't help you get out of this thing. But he puts the necklace back on her and is like, this will keep you safe, I guess. But it never really seems to.
No, and she's also wearing the lowest cut.
Oh my God.
To the point that Peter
She's
Cushing...
naked.
Yeah.
She's naked.
Peter Cushing is trying so hard because he's such a fucking gentleman. Peter Cushing is trying
He's
so
putting this
hard.
necklace on her and just avoiding the boobs at all costs, but it's so difficult.
And he... yeah. No, go ahead.
Don't talk about it. Don't talk. Can we not? I don't want this in the podcast.
I want to talk
My
about it.
mom is going to listen to this podcast. I don't want to talk about nipples.
All right, fine. We don't have to talk about it.
He brushes up against the nipple and it does get hard.
It's a little harder on the other end.
I'm just saying, it's such a close close-up. Why did they use that tape?
Right.
Anyway.
It's
And
bad.
also, I mean, can you blame her? He's a gentleman.
It's
He's
probably
a scholar.
also cold.
Yeah.
Just
Multi-talented.
leave her alone.
Well, I mean, he's a fucking tour de force.
Yeah, I mean,
Anyway,
we got the lowest cut shit they
I
could find.
really hate this.
Yeah. We're actually, my percentage is back up to 5%, so we can keep talking about Peter Cushing.
No.
for
So
some-
tell me what you think about the
So then he's like outside and preparing like steaks and such to murder this boy.
I know.
He's grilling up some steaks outside.
He's like, oh, it's gonna be real hungry work killing these
Wooden
vampires.
steaks. He was sharpening some wooden steaks.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's 1:42 in the morning. He's like he's sharpening some wooden stakes and like building, a mouse trap for Dracula.
Yeah. He's building a Drac trap.
Yeah.
You Need a Mousetrap, 1995, starring Nathan Lane.
Yeah, exactly. He's building the film Master.
And then we see Dracula entering and he takes off the necklace and tries a murder. And then Van Helsing shows up and he gets really mad. He's like, oh my God, you killed me before.
Yeah, because it's exactly
so
him.
cool.
Yeah.
When he walks in the church, he's got his brown coat on. He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Dracula! And it's sick.
Count Dracula!
Oh, it's badass.
And Dracula looks up at him and his eyes are just the reddest eyes.
Because he's
you've
been
ever
ripping
seen.
so much cotton this whole film. His eyes are so
But it's
red.
like, it's to the point that it's not even like, oh yeah, dude, he looks high. It's like he looks like his eyes have been singed by the sun itself.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he is a vampire. and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
What was that?
potentially.
It was contacts, right? That they had him wearing like entire eye
Probably.
contacts.
I guess.
Yeah.
They're terrifying.
I can see why he only wanted to do it for a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dracula tries a murder but gets stopped by Van Helsing. Dracula has flashbacks to being murdered the first time and is like, you asshole, you killed me.
He has flashbacks to the car accident. Yeah.
Yeah. They scuffle and then Van Helsing stabs him. Drac pulls a front flip and falls with the blade to the bottom. They're like on the second story. He falls back down to the first story.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And then Jess is like hypnotized and like starts walking towards Dracula and is like, I still want to sacrifice myself to Dracula. And Peter Cushing's like, oh my God, Jess, literally don't.
Yeah, but he's on the second floor and he cannot jump down there because he will turn to dust.
He
as
will
soon as he gets
shatter.
there.
122 years old.
He will shatter if he tries to jump down. So he's in a pretty tough pickle right now.
Yeah.
But then he stops her and like distracts Dracula and Dracula chases him and then falls into the Dracula trap.
Yeah.
And then he dissolves.
The Drac Trap.
Yeah, he dissolves and then Peter Cushing comforts Jess and is like,
Tries really hard to avoid any contact with the very, very out boobs.
Yep.
like she's basically naked and he's
Yeah.
trying very hard to do the blocking, which involves his arm around her.
Yeah.
Because he
without-
is a gentleman and a scholar
Yeah.
and just... Oh
and then we just get title cards.
Yeah.
Well, no. He says what I don't remember.
Oh
the
yeah,
Latin.
he reads the gravestone that says something in Latin, to which Brian said, "Do we ever find out what that means?"
And then immediately the title card pops up that says what it means.
Yeah.
What did it mean? I forget.
It was rest in eternal peace. Was
Yeah,
it?
something like that.
Something like that.
Rest in eternal peace or something.
And that's the fucking movie.
Can
Credits roll.
Can I say something real quick that I just realized just now? This would have been a much better film because Dracula he's sworn revenge against the Van Helsing family because they killed him, right?
Right.
He died in a car accident.
Yeah.
So I think it would have been cooler if he had sworn revenge against the auto industry, and he was just attacking like big capitalism.
Just became a radical socialist. Yeah. Like, it's just been so much cooler. Like,
Dracula was responsible for the fall of the Detroit auto industry.
I mean, good work, buddy. Like.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you boys.
Yeah.
Would you say that this film is the worst of the worst, the best of the worst, or a guilty pleasure? Let's go around, Brian.
Oh God, it's tough because I feel like if you separated this film, if you took any individual scene out of this film, there's a 50-50 chance it's a guilty pleasure or the absolute worst thing I've ever seen. Because like the film is, I would say, about 50% this is hilariously terrible and 50% this is the most boring thing I've ever seen in my life. I hate having to give a negative thing as our first one, but I think this is a worst of the worst.
See, no. I don't like this trinary that we're in here.
Oh, okay.
I think what we're looking at is a movie that you can only watch one time.
Okay, and we did watch it twice.
Getting through that second viewing was brutal.
Long.
Yeah, and it is only an hour and a half.
Maybe it should be a scale of how drunk do you need to be to watch this movie effectively.
Say, if you watch this movie one time in your life and you get fucking hammered before you watch it, you will have a good ass time. When Dick Bush's name comes up in the opening credits, you will cackle. Like, it is funny.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So this is a good drunk watch, not a good watch.
Here's an idea.
I would say best of the worst.
Best of the worst.
Because it's that one watch is a really good watch.
That's true.
I'm glad that was our first one.
You know what? You have turned me around on it. I'm gonna say if we're going with the triforce scale, the triumvirate scale, I'm gonna go. I will say best of the worst. I'll agree.
Can we give it like a?
And then we'll give it a drunk out of 5.
I'm gonna give it
so good. Yeah.
We'll give it
a drunk out of 5.
An 8 out of 5.
We'll give it one of the 3 categories and then a drunk out of 5.
Yeah, I like this. Okay, so it's best of the worst. I would say on a drunk scale, like 4. How drunk you should be.
Yeah, a 4.
Yeah, I'd say 4 out of 5. 3.5 for me. Because you have to be sober enough to register Dick Bush. You have to be sober enough to understand the horrors that you're experiencing, but drunk enough to be numb to it.
I'd say you need to be drunk enough to where you're switching the first letters of words every once in a while.
Big Dush.
You know? The Big Dush.
Yeah.
So 3.5.
I watched it twice sober, and I will say, it's not pleasant.
No, it's really not.
It's very long.
It's...
So, I guess...
Oh dear, what's that sound?
What the hell is that?
That was the maddening call of the Hell Bell.
What?
Oh dear.
Ask not for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. The spooky Spanish class. It means this period is over.
I'm sorry, who are you?
It is I, Edgar Diablo, your headmaster. I literally both hired you and introduced you at the beginning.
Oh, right. Okay.
You sound super different on the phone.
Hey, is that your real name? Because we were using this name generator, and I'm pretty sure...
It appears that today's class has reached its end, but be sure to return this Friday for our next lesson. Until then, just kind of chill, I guess, but be spooky about it.
Does that mean we can go?
Yeah, can we go too?
I am now realizing that we are all chained to the same very large teacher's desk.
Yes, you can go. To hell! Oh, that was a good one.
That was really unpleasant.
Good job, Edgar.